All right. Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Okay, I'm lost.
All right. It's a ridiculous pop culture reference.
Yeah, I know. It's like if my son was here, he would pick Jacob.
I can't. I'm a Gothic fan and Gothic horror fan. I really can't conceive of the thought of vampires that get pretty when the sun gets down. I just have an issue with that.
Okay. I thought this would be the appropriate time to throw the one stupid lighten the mood question in there, and it got the cheap pop from the back, so it did its job.
But I ruined my kid answer first.
All right. Let's see. All right. It's a horrible thought neither one of you want to consider here, but we are in the world of the big D and the big R, and everyone else can get the hell out of the way. So, if you do not win the election, what impact do you want your campaign to make on the political spectrum in Virginia? And what will you do to continue supporting the things that you stand for and getting the word out?
Well, the first thing that I want to push, I'll continue to push to get the word out, is that the Democratic and Republican Party are two wings of the same bird. The big issue right now is that if you actually look at the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, they won 99.5% of the elections, and some of the local ones, they had 0.05% or 0.5% elections were won by somebody who just wasn't affiliated with that party. But they had a lock on the whole thing, right? So this is what happened. But you had the right to vote. You just, basically they set up so that communists would win each time. In Iran, they had the right to vote. How much does that change? How much does that give them liberty and freedom? The right to vote does not give you liberty and freedom. What your government does impacts your liberty and freedom. And right now, the Republicans and Democrats are basically got smart because, man, you know, the communists would still be around today if they got smart and just separated them into two wings and gave the illusion of choice. I would say that the other impact that I want to have, and basically I hammer that drum all the time, that last drum, but the Republicans and Democrats are really loathsome to me in a lot of ways because they try to figure out a demographic and they hang on to that demographic and then they tell people if the other guy wins, then his demographic is going to get into power and then your life is over. So they separate us as a people. They separate people along the lines of race, religion, all sorts of different things. And the problem with this is that the fight really, and I hope I can express this to everybody, but the really fight is not about left and right. It's authoritarianism versus individual liberty. And it's not poor versus middle class or however you want to divide society. It is us, the citizens, against them, the political elite and the power elite. Thank you very much.
I like the metaphor. Two wings on the same bird, and a lot of crap coming out of the end of it. But who's the brain of that? It's you. You're the ones that flap the wings. And I am also, and James. We're the ones that are the brain of the bird. And we can fold those wings.
You call it the bird.
And we can do it. Bird brain. Yes, I did. Nobody caught it, but thank you. So we can fold those wings. And the body can run the bird. And the body is the people in this country. So you go out, everyone here, I am tasking you to voting in November. On November 2nd, you need to go out there and vote for other than the BTs, for one of us out there, because we will fold those wings. I don't envision myself not winning. Okay, I don't see that. I see myself winning, and I know James is the same way. He sees himself winning, and if God forbid we don't win, one of us doesn't win, we will be in their ear all the time. I don't plan to go away. I'm going to be here in 2012. I'm going to do my petition again and do it again and again until we get in.
It's not really a bottle, but I just want to add this because John, myself, and Mr. Redpath were talking about this and making a joke earlier. It's something I read on Lou Rockwell, and it said people who think that they can get a few good people into the Republican Democratic parties to reform them have to understand that the chances of that are to get a few good people into street gangs such as the Crips and the Bloods and try to reform the gang. The problem isn't the people, it's the structure and it's the organization.
The Crips and the Blood is also a red state, blue state issue. So red rag, blue rag, dead red. So, both of you went through a tiresome ordeal to get on this stage today, and I don't mean walking down 18th Street. You each had to find someone in the know of how to get a third party or independent candidate on the ballot. And then, after you went through that, you filled out your forms, you got your little sheet of paper, you found a crew of dedicated people to run around and get 1,000 signatures to approve of putting you on the ballot to run against Bobby Scott and that other guy.
No. Just Bobby Scott. Because the other guy wasn't there yet.
Oh, the other guy wasn't.
He came in after James Scott.
So to run against Bobby Scott and a big blank on the ballot for November when the two of you petitioned to get on, is it fair that people with an alternative viewpoint that don't cater to the Democrat or Republican party's party line, party platform, and the fact that they ignore it? Anyhow, so is it fair that you guys have to go through, fill out legal forms, get 1,000 people to sign on saying that they want you to run for office when neither Bobby Scott nor the or the challenger from, what is that, second district?
Yeah.
So when neither of those have to go out and do that, they just have their nationally sanctioned and approved political party say, yo, that's the dude.
The way they work it is because they're in your state legislature. This document right here gives them the right to do that. It says, we're going to take a census, and we're going to tell you you have 11 congressmen in your state and 2 senators. And it's up to you, Virginia, to determine how you're going to get them in office. So you have voted the state legislators, and they said, we're going to draw this district that benefits me and my party. So what you need to do at the grassroots level here is next year, 2011, is when the legislators get reelected. You need to find those independent people. You need to run. Get out there and get in the legislature and change it. And that's the only way it's going to happen. That's the only way.
670,000 people that can vote in the 3rd district, I believe it is, or total population. But that's a lot of people, and there's no way that one person can represent all the needs of those people and represent all the opinions of those people. So we have to have more people, not less people, run in congressional races, because there's no way that I can address all the issues of everybody. I can try to do it as best I can, but you have different cultures. The culture of Eastern Richmond isn't even the same as the culture of Western Richmond. Never mind Richmond versus Newport News and Henrico. We used to have one representative for 30,000 people. Boy, if that person voted wrong and he went back to his neighborhood, you could imagine the earful he got. But you're insulated as a representative when it comes to one person out of 670,000 people. But the reason why I like the fact that 4 people are running here is because we're all different. And that's important because people now have a choice. And typically you see that 25 to 50% of the population that can vote do vote in any given election. That means 50% to 75% of the population says, you know, I don't like any of these 2 yahoos. So obviously with more people out there, hopefully we can say, you know what, I like that guy, I'm going to go out there and vote. We can get maybe instead of 50% of the population voting at a good election, get to 70, 80%. That would be fantastic. That means people are participating, and that just can be nothing but good for our country.
Are you going to take questions from the audience at some point?
Yes, one last one from here, and then we'll move on to the audience. All right. We have seen the amount of executive power that our president has thrown around. Recently, one of the governors also decided to throw around his executive weight in the state of California and chose to decriminalize possession of less than 1 ounce of marijuana. I hate that I'm ending on this note, but is that an abuse of his executive power to decriminalize that? Should it have been up to the California voters and legislature? And secondarily, after the quick answer, was it a good idea?
I'm not going to say it's a good idea, but I'm going to say that it's a good thing for citizens. On the other hand, though, when you have the executive overreach of something like this, you have to remember that for every one good thing that an executive official is going to do, he's going to do 50 bad things with that same power. And we're seeing it all the time with the various departments of agriculture. We seem to only remember the good things that happen. You know, we forget things such as the Department of Agriculture also making ad hoc decisions that carry the weight of law. We keep so that they can go ahead and stop small farmers from competing. Like the law that just passed, or the decision that they just go ahead and push that said that if you're under the age of 18, you can't get on a tractor. You have to be over 18 to be on a tractor. Well, that kills the poor private farmer, the family farm. That's directly against the family farm, because a family farm, everybody works on the farm. So this comes from an executive department. So, and this is the problem with giving the executive that kind of power. So for every wonderful thing all of a sudden that occurs, you get 50 really bad things that follow it. And so we have to be aware of that, and that's the real danger. It has to go to the legislature, even though they oftentimes can't figure out what the heck they want to do, and they're incompetent in a lot of ways. The other thing, though, is that we also have to look at the same thing when it comes to the judiciary, the judges. But ultimately, we have to look at it and also say, is it a good thing? Again, I'm going to say it's probably a good thing for the citizens of California. In the short term, the concern I have is that executive overreach, what you might be doing long term. Oh, one last thought about executive overreach. Does anybody remember TARP? Yeah. Do you know that the GM and the Chrysler bailouts were voted down by the legislature?
Yes.
Okay. Bush did it anyway. Okay. When you have an executive office that can actually do that and then does that, and you don't hear a peep from the legislature or the media, and it just kind of quietly goes away, what does that tell you about the health of your government?
Executive overreach is the question we're talking about. The Constitution, I believe in the Constitution, and I believe what's in there. If we want to change that executive overreach, we need to make an amendment. And we need to get those BPs out of office and get the regular people back in and change it for term limits. We need to change the amendment where they give the War Powers Act to the president and change it in there where he can't do that unless he goes to Congress. So the original intent of the founding fathers was he has to present it to Congress and they vote on it. It's not his decision. And we're in a time right now where we don't need to make a quick decision about going to war. We have the ability to protect ourselves in this country. We don't need to help out anybody else. World War II, the lead lease was going on. Everybody was pacifists at that time, and they were all, they didn't want to go over there and fight. And the only reason we fought is because of Pearl Harbor. Same thing in World War I. We didn't want to go over there, but we had to. And we had time, and that's what we need to do is make the amendments to make the legislature decide what we need to do. What the governor did in California, my first answer when you said it was, who cares? It's California. I care about the 3rd district. How does it affect me here? And what does the people here want? Do they want to legalize marijuana? So if Governor McDonnell has that power and they decide they want to have it here in Virginia, go for it. You know, then put your legislators in there in 2011 when you guys go out there and you all decide that. That's great because that's what the people want. So on the executive overreach, it's power corrupts absolutely. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So we need to get that power in the hands of these VPs.